Welcome to another edition of DHN, your home for clear, consistent crypto content. I'm your host, as always, Wade Teamer. I want to thank you for joining us in another discussion on Hedera. We have Seal SQ, WiseKey, and the Hashgraph Association joining forces to bring secure IoT and DPIN solutions to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Guys, this is a follow-up on a $200 million investment that the Hashgraph Association made back in February into the kingdom, and it's going to aid in Saudi Arabia's overall digital transformation. We're going to discuss it all in this one, guys, so make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already, and let's dive in. So, Seal SQ, a company specializing in the development and sale of semiconductors, PKI, and post-quantum technology hardware and software, along with its parent company, WiseKey, global leader in cybersecurity, digital identity, and IoT, have announced their partnership with the Hashgraph Association. The Hashgraph Association, a Swiss-based association and leader in digital innovation and DOT solutions, promoting the Hedera network. The partnership aims to lead the implementation of Internet of Things and DPIN solutions in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, aligning with Saudi Arabia's vision for 2030. And like I said, we're going to touch on that a little bit because that's a massive project. That's a very massive project, guys. And then this goes into the $250 million deep tech studio investment with the Saudi ministry. This was aimed at developing technological solutions, including blockchain and AI for local businesses. Something else we'll touch on before we get out of here. But I want to show you who WiseKey is. They have been in the space for a number of years. From my perspective, I've always heard about them on the highest levels of research, guys. They have their own blockchain. This blockchain is compatible with a number of projects that we are familiar with. Polygon is one. We now know Hedera will be next. And Casper Labs recently joined up with WiseKey. Now, WiseKey is a very important player to watch because they have a lot of legacy influence and they're applying it to the blockchain space. They've been a very strong ally for us for a number of years. So it excites me to see them still entrenched in the blockchain, in the DOT space. On top of that, we have Seal SQ. And this brings up the quantum computing side. Now, it would literally take another whole 20-30 minute piece by itself to talk about the quantum computing in relation to cryptocurrency, digital assets. But we're not going to do that. Just know, if Hedera is working with players that specialize in that field, yeah, that's an anchor to the future if I've ever seen one. So, Seal SQ, WiseKey, two companies you want to take a look at if you want to dig deeper into this story. And on that note, we're talking about DPIN and IoT, guys, which for the longest time, I assumed that it would take us some years to get to. Quite a few years. If you take a look at some of my older content, guys, when we talked about IoT or IOTA and IoTX, as well as Fetch AI, when they branched off into IoT, when the IoT discussion really started, I assumed that it would take some years. But I did not foresee this whole DPIN situation coming to encompass the entire IoT landscape. Now, what we're looking at right now is DPIN Scan. This is powered by IoTX, but it gives us an overview of the DPIN market, the IoT space. And you can see the leaders right now: Solana, Render, Filecoin, Theta Network, Akash, Helium, pretty big players. And they already have had a substantial head start when it comes to network activity, when it comes to devices in the market. So if Hedera is planning on taking this DPIN IoT route in Saudi Arabia, I hope they take a look at the previous projects that are already in space. And I hope they understand that devices matter. So very interested to see how this unfolds. But let's just be aware, folks, this one ain't as easy as, getting into digital security and recovery or getting into stablecoin creation. This DPIN market is it's heating up quickly. Now, It's not all bad news when it comes to the IoT and DPIN side for Hedera, because they got a little bit of experience, and a couple players on the Hedera network are starting to expand the IoT functionality for the ledger, right? First, we have Neuron, which I told you guys about. They're working on a drone radar system to run on the Hedera network. If you check out their X account, you'll see that they've made some significant progress in this system. And yeah, it was supported by the UK government. On top of that, Google's drone radar system, Wing, the builders and team from that Wing project also observed some of the work that Neuron has been up to. In the content that I made in relation to Neuron and Hedera, I proposed a theory that because Hedera's base of operations is literally up the street from where Walmart is also practicing drone radar systems, there's an opportunity there. It is. I'm just saying, you can call me crazy. I'll accept that. I'm an influencer. That's it's part of the job. Now, when it comes to other applications, here's another one that's of interest in the healthcare side. Everywhere joined up with Hedera in 2020, and what their focus is healthcare data on chain. And you can see that they enabled a cold chain monitoring of C19 Vs for the National Health Service during that whole situation, which I saw a lot of projects doing that. Don't know what was the reason for, but it was an exercise in utility. From that aspect, I can understand why they did that. So when it comes to IoT, you have Neuron, you have Everywhere, and you also have Seun. I hope I'm saying that right, but this is a very seldomly talked about project on Hedera. What they want to do, though, is build out a management system for water treatment, maybe purification, maybe, water distribution. But the little information they do have on their site, it gives that idea. Water monitoring. And they want to work with, they have some frequently asked questions here. Industries they serve. Well, let's start at what is it? Seun is an IoT device that monitors water data. Think of it as a security system specifically created to keep balance and prolong the life of large infrastructure mechanisms that rely on water. So not just the systems to manage and track the water, but systems that will support the infrastructure of the companies that are involved with the management of water, the treatment, recycling, all of the stuff that goes along with water. I don't know these things specifically. That's why I'm so interested, though. It's a very interesting setup here. They say they're particularly interested in working with hospitals, large building systems, cooling towers, well systems, and other related industries. However, Seun is customizable and can monitor virtually any liquid. I have never heard that before. But Seun IoT on Hedera, along with Everywhere and Neuron. Personally, I think Neuron is going to be the one that hits. Then again, I don't know everything about water treatment. And then healthcare never goes anywhere. So, interesting setup, guys. Again, I'm just here to give you the names to look into. And that way you can nerd out about it the same way that I do before I press record. Now, let's talk about Saudi and crypto, man, because in the article, they talked about how this ties into Saudi's vision for 2030. Now, there was a period on this channel when we were real deep into the 2030 target, because it's not just Saudi Arabia, folks. United States has a plan for 2030. Europe has a plan for 2030. Australia has a plan for 2030. China, theirs goes to 2045 and then 2050. This 2030 year seems to be so significant, folks. And I can't figure out why, but every day in the crypto space, and as we get deeper, it makes more sense. This is a plan to simply revolutionize their entire economy by 2030. And I'm talking about from every level, from the riches of businessmen and how their companies operate to the, for lack of better terms, the poorest son of a something in the, in the ghettos of Saudi Arabia. They want to change everything. and they're going to use technology to do it. That is a very, very big oversimplification of what they're really planning. And if you want to, guys, there's so much media content that they have about it. Dig into it. But this is where the Hashgraph Association is trying to position the Hedera network, is in front of this transformation. Saudi don't play about their goals, ladies and gentlemen. Now, why do you think, let me show you this statistic here, courtesy of AAA. Why do you think that the majority, let me scroll up to it, I believe they have it at the top. Yeah, top 30 countries with the highest cryptocurrency ownership rate in 2024. Saudi Arabia is sitting at 15%. That's only 0.5% less than the landscape in the United States. So with that data, you can look at it as, imagine if this announcement was made for a US-based firm. Exact type of impact that's happening over in Saudi Arabia right now. So I'm curious to see in the mainstream media, because in other countries of the world, guys, don't get it twisted, their mainstream media talks about cryptos like they're traditional companies. So I'm going to dig around, try to find some Saudi Arabian news sources. But Saudi Arabia's digital push, like I said, they want to change society. They want to change culture. They want to change everything. And they're going to do it through technology. And this would explain why they're making moves like Saudi Arabia joins Bank for International Settlement CBDC project Mbridge as a full participant, alongside China, Hong Kong, Thailand, and the United Arab Emirates, which, let's go back to the chart here. United Arab Emirates claims 25.3% ownership in their country. That's the highest, next to only besting Singapore at 24.4%. So now, I'm not trying to change the topic of discussion to CBDCs, but if you want to talk CBDCs on Hedera, there's a number of applications too. Caramel Cadet just did an excellent interview with the Think Crypto podcast. Definitely want to check that out if you want CBDC related alpha on Hedera. I don't think CBDC is ultimately going to land with the connotation and fears that everybody says that it will become. I think the CBDC is just more a term for the digital assets that are going to be used by the biggest banks. We won't even see a CBDC. We'll see USDC and maybe even USDT, depending on where you're living at. But the CBDC will be for the biggest of financial institutions, my opinion. But that just shows you where Saudi is moving, the direction that they're going into, guys. And again, this isn't the first foray for Hashgraph or Hbar into Saudi. Back in February, Saudi's $250 million tech innovation to boost Hashgraph, the Hashgraph Association, and Saudi Ministry of Investment have launched a $250 million deep tech venture studio in Riyadh, supporting over 500 companies in developing advanced AI, blockchain, and VR solutions. And if you go back to that vision for 2030, you look through it, guys, that's what they want to include. That's what they want. National Industrial Development and Logistics, National Transformation, Pilgrim Experience Program, privatization programs, public investment funds, quality, the whole nine, folks. Financial sector development, health sector development. What did we just talk about? Everywhere. Just like Hedera's finna be everywhere. And then here's another thing to think about too, guys. So there's another large telecom player in Saudi Arabia, Zain Group. Wouldn't you know it? What was that back in 2020? Yep. A MENA region first, Zain Group joins Hedera's governing council to create safer, fairer, and more secure internet. Now, as of right now, we haven't seen anything manifest from this relationship. They're in the telecom space. And in 2020, Hedera wasn't really deep into the IoT. This was before a lot of the improvements to the Hedera network that we are, accustomed to seeing today. Guys, there was a point for the Hedera network where it wasn't pumping the most transactions per second, and it wasn't holding the most applications and attracting the most developers. There was a time. There were a number of significant Hedera improvement proposals over the last 4 years that allowed for smart contract 2.0. enhanced functionalities for NFTs, the stablecoin studio. There were steps to the process, folks. So, with the $250 million investment from the Saudi Arabian ministry, as well as this relationship with Seal SQ and WiseKey in an effort to contribute to Saudi's vision for 2030, this opens the door up. It makes Hedera look really good. And again, just to keep everything level, there are obviously no guarantees, but in the case of Saudi Arabia, the UAE, that region of the world, their whole perspective on these technologies is so different from the United States, so different from Europe, where there's a lot more bureaucracy involved over here in the United States than in Europe. But in the Middle East and North African regions, they are rushing towards this technology. And when you really do the digging on how much further along these countries have been coming out of the new millennium, India records, the number that I looked at, about 75% of all of the digital transactions on this planet. I'd have to double check that, but the number was crazy. All right, I learned it when I was studying the BRICS video, which, by the way, Saudi Arabia did just join BRICS, so you could put that on it as well. But let's take a look at Hedera's price, guys. We're down 2% in the last 24 hours. It's kind of disappointing. Come on, guys, buy some H-bar. So all you got to do is buy some H-bar. As a matter of fact, if you want to, there's an exchange that I'm using. It's called Uphold, guys, channel partner. And you can get not only H-bar, all of the other assets that we talk about on the channel, as well as you can diversify into some precious metals like gold, silver, palladium, things like that. If you want to get crazy, there's other fiat currencies as well. They also have self-custody option in the form of the Uphold Vault. Right now, you can store your Bitcoin and XRP, but they do plan on adding more assets in the future. On top of that, they have investor baskets. And this tool, guys, has been the funnest part of my investment journey so far. You can take a certain amount of money, and those funds will be allocated across a basket of 5 assets that span across enterprise, DeFi, gaming, AI, whatever you see fit. So again, check out Uphold. Link to them will be down in the description. Again, they're a channel partner. So if you use the link, I do get compensated. I want to thank you in advance. With that, it's time for the best part. If that money is digital, so is the hustle.